There are actually 5 main reasons why I'm going to go free to play in Wuthering Waves at launch. The main reason and number one reason that I am going free to play is because I am broke. Don't have money to spend on it, and I don't care to spend money on games like this, on gacha games. Every time I do spend money on gacha games, I tend to actually quit them very soon after. I feel like, you know, at that point, because I spent that money, I feel obligated to play it rather than just enjoy it. And it creates the atmosphere of, well, I spent money, I'm gonna play it now because I invested into it, instead of, oh, I'm gonna boot this game up and enjoy some of the events that are going on and then log off. The second reason that I am going to go free to play is, as a content creator, I want to appeal to the bigger part of the player base. And what I mean by that is the casual player base makes up the majority of most gacha games, especially PvE gacha games, because without PvP or the PvP aspect in a gacha game, there's really no reason to like go for meta or, you know, create teams that are optimal unless you just enjoy that. I think it's just very, very, very important to just enjoy the game, because when you start getting into meta, when you start getting into all the hardcore aspects of the game, it becomes really sweaty, and for a PvE gacha game, it can make it unenjoyable at that point. If it becomes a chore, or if it becomes something that you feel required to do, and for some players that hardcore aspect may be an achievement, maybe a trophy or some kind of status that they can get, and that's perfectly fine. If you can enjoy the game that way, that is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think you should enjoy the game in the way that you want to enjoy the game, especially something like Wuthering Waves, because it just has the potential to really reach the casual player base in a very, very good way, especially with the echo collecting aspect of the game. One of the other main reasons I want to go free to play is because I just want to not be so out of touch that I don't understand how the majority of the player base is thinking. And then the third main reason that I want to go free to play is because I don't want to beat all the content in one day. I want to spread beating all the content over the course of weeks, possibly months, depending on how much content they have at release. I want that challenge. I want to make this as, I guess, difficult as possible for me, because I don't want to like have an all-powerful character and then have a plethora of characters in my arsenal that I don't even know how to use or know the intricacies of, because I was able to pull the most powerful character in the game at the time. With that being said, I think there's an advantage to learning all the nuances, all the little details, and all the kits and everything with each character that you have at your disposal first, rather than pulling for every single new character. I think it's just very, very boring to get all the new characters or all the most powerful characters, because then you can just plow through the game, no problem, without any challenge and without really having to think about what you're doing. And I want to be able to use the skill that I have as a gamer and learn all the nuances, intricacies, and little things about each individual character to see what kind of team comps I can make with the characters that I have at that moment in time. Now, there may be characters that come out that I just absolutely want because I like the way they look, or maybe I do like their kit and just want them as an addition to my team or addition to my pool of characters to create different team comps and whatnot. But ultimately, I just want to challenge myself to learn the actual game rather than putting it into quote unquote auto mode and beating the game with the most powerful character. So if you know what I mean. The fourth main reason I want to go free to play is because I think it's really, really exciting when you're able to actually pull the character that you want with the amount of currency that the game gives you. I think it's very boring to spend so much money on the game and just guarantee that you're going to get the character. I think that's very, very boring. I honestly never feel good about myself or feel good afterwards about spending money on a game or spending so much money on a gacha game to the point where I guarantee that I'm going to get that new character. It almost takes away the it factor of getting that new character. And it's just more exciting for me to use the currency that is given to me freely. To be honest with you, pulling characters doesn't excite me like too much. I'm not the type of person that really likes to do that. I hate the gacha mechanics in gacha games, but I like some of the gameplay in gacha games. That's why I play gacha games. They're free to play. They're really, really easily accessible. And I'm a person that really doesn't have a lot of time to play video games. And so gacha games are actually near perfect for me because they're the type of games that you can get in, do your dailies for about 20 or 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes tops, and then get out. Once you've completed, you know, that version of the game, like version 1.0 for Wuthering Waves, until they release a new patch where they continue the story and whatnot. So, and then the last main reason why I am going free to play is, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, is it's just very boring to follow meta. I don't worry about the meta in gacha games necessarily, or in video games in general. I usually play the way I want to play, mixing some meta methods into my play style. I may, you know, pull one or two things from meta showcases or advice about what kind of meta I should go for to, you know, kind of enhance my gameplay. But ultimately, I just want to play the way I want to play. I want to play with the characters that I want to play with and that I enjoy. I think that's the best way to play gacha games, because games like this are catered toward more casual players. To be completely honest with you, there are going to be hardcore aspects to this game that cater to the hardcore player base, but that's going to be a very, very small percentage compared to the percentage of casual players. I would say, you know, if I were to give it a number, a ratio here, I would say it's going to be about 80% casual and 20% hardcore. I could be wrong about that. Hardcore might actually be about 10% and casual might be about 90%. But either way, ultimately following the meta's pretty boring because that's what everyone's trying to do. And you've got these free to play players pulling for these characters, wasting their currency on meta characters, and then they're not enjoying the game anymore because they either can't pull that character or they pull that character and realize that those people who are giving advice, those guide makers, no offense to them, I think guide makers are great for games like this. They fail to realize that most of the time, units in the game that are part of the meta do require like dupes or require specific weapons or specific equipment. And so ultimately at the end of the day, they just end up not enjoying the game as much as they thought they would because they're not using their own mind and playing it in their way. That's why I'm not going to follow meta. That's why I'm going to go free to play and play this game in the way that I want to play it with the characters I want to play the game with. And I will see y'all later with more Wuthering Waves content.